All right, everyone, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. I'm Alicia Alex. I'm the Associate Director in Career and Professional Development Office. If you're not familiar, or if this is your first workshop with Career and Professional Development, we are the creative resource on campus for you, your creative career resource. We have two amazing career advisors who can help you with everything from resumes and cover letters to your internship search to prepping for interviews, portfolio reviews, portfolio websites, and more. But today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, digital marketing for artists and designers. I oversee our department's marketing. I'm married to a marketing director, and I've seen firsthand how beneficial marketing can be for your career. So I'm very excited to take you through some of the basics today. And just a heads up, again, this is our first HighFlex workshop. So we're both in person on Hillside and online, which means if there's any issues, feel free to pop them in the chat. Chris, our colleague, is here to help out with that. But let us know if you have any questions. All right, let's jump in. So today we're going to start really basic. We're going to talk about what is marketing, specifically as it relates to you as an artist or designer. Why is it important? How and where do you even get started marketing? And then we'll talk a little bit about measuring your success when you do start. And then we'll have some time at the end for questions. So let's just start at the very beginning. What is marketing? At the very basics, marketing is essentially getting your work and your personal brand out to an audience. It's keeping them informed about your practice, inviting them to your exhibitions or other events, building a community of fans, supporters, even building a community of future employers, and really nurturing those relationships. So at its core, marketing is really just promoting yourself and your work and building meaningful relationships. And yes, it's all about communication. That is the core of marketing. You're going to communicate those things to the public. And in digital marketing specifically, these are the main ways that you will communicate. And the best part being that all of these are pretty much free. Digital marketing is a really excellent tool to have in your back pocket because you can do a lot of it from your phone, from your computer. And so when you hear the words digital marketing, it's really made up of your personal brand online, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, social media and email. Those are kind of the main modes of digital marketing. Okay, but why are we marketing? Great question. I'm really glad you asked. Why is marketing important to artists and designers? I think I'll take you through a few scenarios to kind of help illustrate that. So let's say you're a painter and you spend all day in your studio, you have a ton of work and you want to be able to show it in galleries and maybe sell it to the public. How are you going to get people to visit your studio? How will people know that you and your work exist? Or maybe you're interested in working in a design agency and you just spent 4 years at Art Center building your portfolio. You're ready to tackle the job search, but you know there's a lot of competition out there. How do you stand out from the crowd? How do you catch the attention of recruiters to land your first job? Or you're an incredibly talented illustrator and you know you want to freelance full-time once you graduate. You know you'll need clients to make this happen. How do you make sure people know that you're even freelancing? How do you let potential clients know about your services? Or maybe you love the idea of creating your own products and you want to start a small business while you're in school. You've created everything from zines to stickers, maybe t-shirts and hoodies. How are you going to find customers to buy your products? How are you going to let people know about your shop? The answer to all of these questions is, you guessed it, marketing. Marketing is basically, again, communicating your unique combination of skills and experiences that make you who you are. It's how you present yourself to the world, essentially. And it's how you get people to pay attention to the work that you make and the opportunities that you're interested in. Okay, that's great and all. But how are we going to do that? How do we begin to market? Sometimes the word marketing feels really businessy or maybe even icky, or maybe just a little bit overwhelming. So we're going to talk a little bit about marketing, and we're going to break it down in a way that hopefully makes it feel a little bit more tangible and doable. And I've kind of broken it down into 3 easy steps that are really at the core of what makes up good marketing and how you get to kind of control that and decide what that looks like for you. So step 1 in a digital marketing process is defining your story. You have to do this before you do anything else. It's going to be really hard to market your work if you don't have a personal brand story, or a story to connect back to. And the good news is that as an artist or designer, your brand is you. It's you, it's your story, it's who you are, the type of work that you make, what you believe in, what is valuable to you, what are your unique skills. This is where you get to humanize your design process so that your future audience or clients or employers has something to connect with. And one of the easiest ways to do this is by creating an artist statement or an artist bio. And this, again, is really just going to define who you are, where you're located, what you do and what you make, what inspires you, and your unique skills. This is a good one to screenshot right here, but this is a really easy formula just to fill in if the idea of an artist statement or a bio feels overwhelming. Just answering, again, those quick questions. I'm Alicia Alex. I'm located in Los Angeles. You can just fill in the rest to make sense for you. And this bio and this story that you're going to tell is going to show up in a lot of different places. As it relates to marketing, it's probably going to show up on your social media, on your Instagram, on your LinkedIn page, and definitely on your website. It's also probably going to show up on your cover letters when you apply for jobs, maybe even on your resume when you are in interviews. This is probably something you'll talk about out loud. Those are all forms of marketing your story. So once you have defined your story, even if it's in this really simple way of just filling out these 4 sentences, you then want to create a strategy. This is what differentiates marketing from just talking. You want to make sure that you're being strategic in your approach. And so what does strategy even mean? Well, for me, it's really made up of a few things. It's goals, plus understanding your audience, plus knowing what platforms you want to use. And we'll break down all 3 of these. So goals. The biggest tip to navigating the world of marketing is determining your goals and working from there to then decide how you're going to spend your time and energy. You just ask yourself, what are you hoping to achieve by marketing yourself and your work? Are you hoping to appeal to future recruiters? And maybe you want to sell some products? Are you trying to get people to attend your gallery show or your event? This is going to look very different for every single person in Zoom and in person here. And there's no wrong answers. The more specific you can get, the better, because this is what is going to help you stay focused as you create this marketing strategy. So goals, what are you hoping to achieve by marketing yourself and your work? Once you have those goals, you want to think about who your target audience is. Who are you trying to reach with your marketing? Do you design children's toys? Are you hoping to connect with a recruiter? Are you wanting to freelance only with graphic design agencies? Are you wanting to design apparel for a specific demographic? Are you hoping to appeal to gallery owners or artist agents? Basically, who are you trying to reach with your marketing? Understanding this as it relates to your goals is going to, again, help you get really strategic and focused. And then based on your goals, plus who you know you want to market to, this is where you get to decide what platforms you're going to use to reach them. And platforms usually mean social media, email, any kind of way that you are talking out loud. This will help you focus your time. And if you're marketing yourself to employers, for instance, you might want to focus all your efforts on LinkedIn. So this, again, will look very different to everyone. But again, goals plus audience plus platform equals strategy. Now let's look at an example of this in real life. So that scenario that I had talked about earlier, you love the idea of creating your own products. You want to start a small business while you're in school. You've created everything from zines to stickers to hoodies. How are you going to find customers? Let's create a strategy for that. So you know that your goal is that you want to create a sustainable small business and sell out of your t-shirts and your zines by maybe the end of the month. That's a really great goal. And you also want to create a loyal customer base so that your fans, your customers can keep buying all these great things that you're creating. So now that you have your goal, you have to think about, who am I making this stuff for? Who's my ideal audience? So my ideal customer is a person in their mid-20s who really likes streetwear and is interested in handmade apparel and artwork. They live in a city and they value style and quality objects because that's what I'm making. So I know what my goal is. I know who I'm trying to sell this to. And now I need to decide, what platform am I going to talk on? You can do more than one, but also starting with one is a good place as well. So platforms, I'm personally really good at TikTok, and I know my 20-something audience is on that platform. I also know that there's a part of TikTok that creates content about handmade apparel, and I can tap into that. So I'm just going to focus all my efforts on TikTok to start. So in those small 3 sentences, you have a marketing strategy and a direction to just get going and try. So once again, define your story, create your strategy, and then share your story. This is marketing at its core, and it can be really simple at the beginning. It doesn't have to be very complicated. But now that you've defined your story, you have your strategy, it's time to talk about sharing that story. And you're going to do that through your portfolio website, your social media, and emails. That's your digital marketing toolkit. Let's talk about portfolio website. Think of this as your internet storefront. All of your marketing efforts and will likely lead back to your website, to your work. This is the core of what you do. So case in point, you need a website. Baseline, your website should include your name, absolutely, whatever name you choose to go by professionally, your actual name, your business name, your bio, so that story that you created, that you defined is going to go on your website. Of course, your work, that's going to be the main component of your website, and then your contact info so that anybody coming to your site knows that they can then reach out to you. And then again, when you have your work on your website, it's just really important to be intentional about it. So you want to make sure you're curating that work, have an audience in mind again, who's viewing your website, provide context for that work. If you understand who your audience is, you want to make sure they know what's going on in your work, provide that context, speak to those people. And then you want to sort by relevance. So by that, I mean, if you are interested in creating apparel, make sure the first couple things on your website are apparel based. We have a really great portfolio website workshop that we'll link to at the end with some resources. So I won't go too heavy into the rest of your portfolio website, but just know that this is kind of the basics of setting up how you talk about your work on the internet, is having a portfolio website. And next, we're going to talk about social media. This is another key component of your digital marketing toolkit. And when I say social media, I mean everything from TikTok to Instagram, to YouTube, to Twitter, and yes, even LinkedIn. I'm not going to dive super deep into any one account, but we'll go over some general best practices of marketing on these platforms. Again, it's up to you to pick which one you're more comfortable with, or that comes easy to you, or that you think your audience is at. There's no wrong answer here. It's just a matter of diving in, kind of learning how to use that platform and getting going. But in terms of actually doing the marketing, there's some general best practices you should know. So first, use the accounts you're already most effective at. If you are effective at none of the accounts, that's okay too, but just pick one and try. If you are really naturally good at Instagram, go for that. I would say Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, any visually based social media platform is probably a good place to start. When possible, you can create a free business/creator account on any of these if you're interested in truly marketing your work through these. This will give you analytics, which is data on who's visiting your Instagram accounts. It will give you insights into kind of how different posts are performing. And it's just a really great way to show analytics. And give me 1 second, because I think I just need to plug my computer in. Okay, sorry about that. If for some reason the Zoom turns off, we will come right back on. But again, so business creator accounts, where possible, just make sure that you're able to log into those and to utilize those. It will give you a lot of data on kind of what you're doing and your efforts. I'd say I'm most familiar with Instagram business accounts, which are free, and then TikTok creator accounts as well. Third, consistency is key. And I mean this kind of in all aspects. So you want to use the same photos across the board in all your accounts, the same bio if possible, and the same voice. And by that, I mean, write the same way, speak to the same audience across all accounts. And then for consistency, post regularly. And that can mean anything. You don't have to post every single day if that feels really overwhelming. You can pick once a week. It's just on a consistent basis is how you're going to keep people engaged with your work and what you're doing. And then you want to follow strategically. So again, this is where understanding your goals and your audience really comes into play, because you want to be able to follow people that are going to help you grow, that are either potential clients, or if you are someone that's looking for an internship or to connect with recruiters, who are the art directors at those agencies that you want to work with, follow them. Who are the other people creating apparel that are in that community, follow them. You want to make sure that you are keeping your audience in mind and making sure that you are following and connecting with that audience. And then of course, the whole point of being on social or on the internet in general is to be active, to comment on other people's posts, to show support and to engage. You don't have to do this every day. I know that social media can be a big time suck, but again, if you come to this with strategy in mind, you can really help plan out and say, okay, I know my goal is that like once a week, I'm going to try to post something about the work that I'm doing. That's a really solid goal right there. And so here are just some free social content ideas. Screenshot this. We'll also have a recording of this. You can also come back to this later. But in general, just some really great free content ideas. So sketches, process videos, final artwork, some before and afters of your work. Thank you, Rox. We are officially plugged in, so no issues. A time lapse of you working on a project. Maybe you have a specific skill set and you're interested in sharing those skills. So a tutorial video or posts where you maybe share some of those skill sets or things you've learned. Maybe you have a really great studio space, or maybe you've set up something really cool in your house. A behind the scenes in your studio is really awesome. Maybe you're on internship this year, or maybe you just won an award, definitely showing those opportunities and those experiences. Maybe you're interested in attending conferences or zine fests or something like Lightbox. Reporting from those is really great, showing that you're in the community. Any kind of industry related events are really awesome. And then resharing other artists' work that you admire. That's always a really great content idea to kind of mix into yours. It shows that you know what's happening in your community and that you're willing to engage in that. So again, feel free to steal these. These are free content ideas. Start somewhere, maybe try a few, see what works. I know that it can feel really overwhelming, but again, just starting small. Give yourself a goal of like once a week, you're going to post something related to your work, and just kind of gauge it from there. So the next piece of sharing your story is all about email. This is kind of the third major place where you will do some digital marketing. And email, honestly, is here to stay. And you're probably used to email as a way to communicate. You're probably emailing faculty or emailing each other, or even you're probably receiving a lot of digital emails from brands that are promoting their work to you. But in digital marketing in particular, you're going to be using email as a tool to promote you and your work. And there's a few different ways you can think about this depending on what your goals are. So the first type is what I call cold outreach. I almost want to call it warm outreach because cold feels not nice, but is basically reaching out to people who you've never met before with the goal of sharing your portfolio. Maybe you're interested in getting a job in somewhere. And this is a really great tactic for those of you who are interested in freelancing, who are looking for clients, who maybe want to share your work with a magazine, who maybe want to reach out to recruiters. So cold outreach emails can look a little bit like this. So I'll just read this out loud. Dear Tink Adams, I'm Alicia Alex, a freelance illustrator based in Los Angeles, and I received your contact info from here. You also don't have to include that part. I wanted to send my portfolio for consideration for any possible design work that I might be a fit for. I'd love to work with you because, explain why, and admire the work that you're doing. Link to your website, and then make sure you sign off and have your contact information. This is marketing. This is really great outreach marketing on a really easy baseline level. You can do this in a couple different ways, and we again have a really great workshop on emails and how to email as a creative professional that I'll link to at the end. But just know that basic in your Gmail outreach emails like this are marketing your work. The next is what I call promotional newsletters. And you know how you get emails from brands letting you know what's new at the brand? that they're having a sale. There's always kind of an update from them. Well, you're also going to send your own promo newsletters if that's something that you're interested in. So here are some examples of ones I've received from artists that I subscribe to. It's a great way to tell people what you're up to keep your fans informed of your work, to keep your network informed of your work, to let people know that you're selling products, that your work's in a gallery show, or just let them know about your process and what you're up to. Typically, these are sent out about once a month. That's a pretty good, consistent timeline. But really, it can also be whenever you have something to share. You can use things like if your website is on Squarespace. Squarespace has a great email provider on there. MailChimp is another one that you might be familiar with. Constant Contact is another one. And then you can, of course, just use Gmail. Very basic. You probably already have a Gmail account. So again, these are just great ways to share what you're up to update your fan base, to build community, and kind of let them know what's going on in this way. And then the last is kind of what I call content newsletters. And these have really been on the rise as of late. And it's almost like blog meets newsletter. So you might be familiar with Substack, but this has kind of risen to popularity over the last few years. But essentially, Substack is where people can sign up for your newsletter or subscribe to your newsletter. You write it kind of like a blog post, but it's sent directly to people's inboxes. So you can update this whenever you want. And whenever you update it, it's sent to whoever has subscribed. It's usually free. I think eventually there are some features where you can add a paid subscription to this. But this is really a place if you're someone that wants to talk more about your process and length, or kind of write, maybe you write on the side as well as paint. This is kind of a space that can feel a bit more bloggy, that also is a great way to promote your work in that way. So definitely check out Substack if that's something you're interested in. And again, there's no right answers to these. I think it depends on your goals and what you're interested in, but just know that email is a really effective tool for getting your message out there, probably one of the most effective tools next to social media. And you're probably wondering, who am I going to email? How do I build this list? And so there's really two main ways to do this. I would say start with the network you do have. Who's invested in what you're doing already? Your family, your friends, the creative community that you're building at Art Center. You already have those contacts probably in your email list. Start there. And oftentimes those people will forward it to other people. And then the second is you want to add a join my mailing list form to as many places as you can. Your website, your social media, your email footer, any of those places. And this is an example of a friend of mine who's a fine artist, and he has this on his About Me page on his website. And any of the newsletters that you create will have something where you can embed this into your website, where people just get to sign up and subscribe. And over time, as you're kind of doing some of that marketing strategy, people will want to know what you're up to, and they'll sign up for your newsletter. So again, this is just something that we'll have to kind of keep at, but anytime you're having a conversation or someone is really interested in your work, say like, hey, you should sign up for my newsletter. I update everyone once a month on what I'm doing, and you can kind of check out the work I'm doing. So again, start with your family and your network, see how that goes, grow it from there, and then also create one of those links, embed it in your website, and share it wherever you can. Now, another great page to screenshot if you're like, what am I going to talk about in email? I don't even have anything to talk about. Here's some really great email content ideas for you to take. So you can really just talk about your work. You can add photos of your work in a paragraph describing what you're doing. You can send updates on projects that you're working on, shows that you're a part of. Maybe you just got an internship and you've been doing some research, or you kind of want to show that process. Maybe you had a really great experience at a conference that you want to share with people, or an art fair or some industry event, and there was knowledge that you gained and you want to pay that forward a little bit. Maybe you have big thoughts on the industry you're about to work in, and maybe that's something that you express through writing. That's definitely something you can put in your newsletter. Again, behind the scenes of your studio, things that are inspiring you lately. People love to hear what other people are inspired by. And then of course, if you are trying to sell services or things, definitely the main component of your email can be that. And then lastly, so you figured out how to get started, you figured out what marketing is, you know kind of how to start a strategy. How are you going to know if it's working? So part of marketing is also being able to measure your success. And every time you try something new, it's a really good idea to just keep a note of what you did, how it worked out. Look back at past posts, at emails to see how they performed. It's a really important way to just learn. So that's really what I mean by look at your analytics. Any website that you build will have traffic analytics. You can usually see how many people are visiting your website, who's visiting your website. Any of those newsletters, you'll usually be able to see who opened it, how many views you got. And then let's say you send out an email, you'll be able to track how many people from that email visited your website. If you have a business account on Instagram, this is one of the reasons I recommend that. You can see how many people are sharing your post, saving your post, commenting. You can watch your growth through there. So it's just a really good idea as you're putting energy into building this strategy and putting it in the world to keep an eye on what's really working. So that way you're not wasting your time and you can kind of pivot and try new things. And again, writing things down will really help you to remember what you've done and to improve upon those things. Even if you just spend a few minutes a week measuring the results of all of your efforts, the insights will really build over time and will help you be really strategic that way. And then just keep in mind that digital marketing is a deeply repetitive process. You have to constantly be talking out in the world. That can feel really exhausting. But again, make your best guess about what you think will be effective, then put something out in the world and just see what actually happens. And then you can just adjust and try again. There's really no wrong way to do this. It's really going to be about what works for you. And I know it can seem daunting, but just start slow, start with consistency and see where it takes you and what works for you. I know that was a lot of information, but I do want to end with this quote from an article on digital marketing by visual artist, strategist, and marketing professional Catherine Joller. The best marketing plan is the one that moves you towards your goals, doesn't make you crazy, and that you don't mind or even enjoy managing day after day. Marketing and publicity really go awry when it's executed without humanity or concern about its overall impact. As an artist, designer, you already think about the perceptions, desires, and inner life of others, so you're ahead of the game in this. As you narrow in on your promotional strategies that work for you, double down on your sensitivity to what's working, what's not, but don't give into insecurity. I know it can feel really vulnerable to put yourself out there. Make your moves to meet your goals and then get back to making. So with that, I will open it up for questions. I know that was a ton of information, and I want to reiterate that we have a bunch of resources to support all of this. You can also make an appointment with any of our career advisors or our team at Career and Professional Development. Sometimes you'll find that you need help as you begin to work towards these goals, and we're definitely here for that too. But don't be scared of marketing. Again, I know it can feel icky and weird and uncomfortable and maybe even vulnerable, but it really can do wonders for your creative career, especially if you are someone that really wants to have clients or be freelance or just put your work out into the world. So definitely come see us if you have questions, and I can open it up for questions both in the room and I see some, I think, coming through on the chat, and we will stop the recording. Thank you so much. All right.